3AW Breakfast goes racing. Brought to you by Budget Car and Truck Rentals. Drive your dollar further at budget.com.au.
Righto, why do you love it? We're both victims of horse racing. We both absolutely love it. Why do you love it?
There's just something about it, I reckon, that just it encompasses everything there is to Australian life. First time I ever walked on a racetrack, I remember walking on and looking at all these people and all these animals, and then I heard a voice from the voice from a guy called Jack Styring.
And Kingston Rulers coming down the outside.
Who was the course commentator in Deniliquin. And I remember thinking that time, this is the best piece of theatre I've ever seen in my entire life. And to this day, I still get the same feeling every time I walk in a race course.
I got a different explanation. Mine is that people involved in racing are never boring.
Yeah.
Right, by definition, you're either putting your life or your money on the line. Under those circumstances, you are unlikely ever to be boring. And I just find them really, really interesting people.
We're all hopeless dreamers. And when you think about it, owning a racehorse is probably the silliest thing you could ever possibly do.
Purest act of optimism in the world. They say that no one ever killed themselves whilst they owned an unraced 2-year-old.
Exactly.
Seeing a live event is wonderful. I know you're a Saints supporter. I barrack for Hawthorn, so I've only ever seen 10 live premierships. How many?
Have you? Is that all you've seen?
Thanks for Ben McAvoy too.
Yeah.
What was the first cup you saw live?
I reckon it was Gala Supreme.
So that's the 1973 say. Mine was 4 years later. I saw Golden Black win.
Oh, did you?
In 1977.
To go and high turnover there to be tackled by Golden Black. Golden Black on the outside has got to the front. Reckless is coming after it. Golden Black in front, 100 to go from Reckless joining in. Golden Black tackled by Reckless on the inside. Golden Black the outer, Reckless the rails. Golden Black just inside it. Golden Black will win the cup.
And it was, of course, the famous cup, because there was an argument made that the man who presented the trophy may have been a little bit the worse for wear for drink.
Ladies and gentlemen, any little noises that you may happen to hear are only static. It's just something wrong with the system.
The great Governor-General of the time.
Sir John Kerr.
Yeah, he'd had a couple.
A little trivia question there now. Who did the Governor-General put in the bear hug that day?
Well, I remember. I don't know, but I'll put this bloke into the betting, because I remember he said the owner's name.
Yes.
And then threw his arms back, and that's when he staggered back.
Yes.
And I remember the bloke's name. Someone will look this up and prove that it's not right. He said, and the owner of this horse, Herb Gage, he's been a mate of mine for years. And he threw his, and that's what he went a bit of a stumble backwards. So I'm saying, was it possibly Herb Gage?
That he actually threw the arms
Yeah,
around.
the owner of Golden Black.
Golden Black, ridden by John Duggan, trained by the great J.B. Cummings.
Yeah, does that sound right?
Yeah.
What was the role of Tommy Woodcock? Oh, that was Reckless.
Reckless with Tommy Woodcock.
Right, and the best voice in racing, when you mentioned Jack Styring, you know so many of those stories about what Jack Styring allegedly said in race calls. Right. Did he ever say, for example, and as they bear their
Molars to the breeze,
to the stiff southerly, this one in front's got a lead longer than my vacuum cleaner? Did he actually ever say that?
I haven't heard that. Molars to the breeze, I've definitely heard. There's no doubt at all about that. One of the first that poke his nib around the corner.
Righto, leave us with a tip for the cup.
Oh, a tip for the cup. Look, there's two tips you should always take note of the cup. There's one, don't go anywhere near the meat pies. They're always cold early, and they get too hot too late. So that's the first tip. No, don't get involved with them at any stage during the day whatsoever. There's probably only 4 horses that can win the Melbourne Cup. The horse that won the Caulfield Cup is Faulkner. He can definitely win it.
Right, now you get a tick up 4. I've written mine down. I bet you, sure as eggs, mine won't be in the 4 that can win it. Faulkner?
Faulkner can definitely win it. Fiorante can definitely go away and win it
Gay
as
Waterhouse.
well, which has got it. There's a horse from France called Verima.
Yeah, is that owned by the Aga Khan?
Owned by the Aga Khan.
And in the 4th?
Well, the 4th one's a horse called Seville that ran in the Cox Plate on Saturday.
I'm told that's the Williamses are very keen on Seville in the Cup. Mount Athos did not make your final 4?
No, did not make the final 4.
Slaughtered by the hoop last year.
It may very well get the ownership of that may very well get charged with murder.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be going that slow around the turn at the last time. It may bring half the field down, and they may very much be up in criminal charges on Wednesday morning.
Trained by Luca Kamani. How many cigarettes a day you reckon, Luca?
He's a big, strong man on the gas, isn't he, Luca?
He'd be 40 to 60.
He'd be 40 to 60 for sure.
And who, as a result of Nat Athos winning the Melbourne Cup, who wouldn't mind seeing his daughter Francesca in the mounting yard?
Francesca also, we must say, is also, you realise, is engaged to an Australian.
Is that right?
So the world, the men of the world have done their best, and as usual, the Australian has come to the fore. Isn't it interesting that there's so many women in this part of the world that don't have the same appreciation for the Australian male as someone as gorgeous and beautiful as Francesca Kamani does?
That takes us out from whatever crap this was called.